think that we're live now. If possible, if you could hear me, if you could just shoot through a message on the chat, if possible, that would be handy. Just so I can know you can hear me. Okay, so I've got a couple of messages coming through. It's just a minute or so to go. We'll just give it a minute and see if there's any other people that are going to turn up a little bit late, but we won't wait too long for them. We'll just get up and running with the people that have jumped on time. So I've got your questions. I hope I haven't missed anything. There's around 9 slides, so 9 different things that we can go over. Some of them will be pretty quick. There's probably not a great deal to talk about, and some of them will probably get stuck on a bit more in depth. Probably the best way that we do it is I'll go over slides as we get to them. Obviously, as that's the questions that have been asked, and then at the end of each slide, just pop through your questions on the chat if you've got any at the end of that, and from there we will obviously handle those questions. If you ask a question that I know will come up later on, I'll just make note that we'll touch on that later. So I think we'll get into it. So I'd just like to thank everybody for logging on to the first webinar for Rick Williams Racing. It's it's been an exciting time lately, going out and starting a new venture, and obviously it's been a lot of hard work, and it's a funny sort of thing because I was talking to someone yesterday, and the work involved in just running a business is obviously through the roof when you're a one-man band, and then to need to rely on horses to make it all worthwhile. It's a strange sort of feeling, but it's certainly one I'm up for. So it's a good challenge, and keeps us on our toes. So these are my details. That's my direct number. I don't always answer it because I'm generally pretty busy. I do prefer to get in contact with people where I can with email or chat. I find it a bit easier. But certainly if you ever have any questions or feel the need to discuss anything with me, my number's there. If I don't answer the phone, please just leave a message, and I'll obviously get back to you. Just on to an overview, just a little bit about myself, just looking at some of the names in the participants here. I think I pretty much know most people. I started a website back in 2010 called Bookie Bashers. From there, around the end of 2010 to the start of 2011, I began working for Champion Picks. That was a really good time. I had a good time at Champion Picks over around 5 years, and we obviously had some good times there and some good runs and some some poor runs, but generally definitely overall we were good enough in the end to come out with good profits for members in the long run. Then upon leaving Champion Picks, I started with a different organisation, Tips and Ratings, and obviously I wasn't there for long. I pretty much had my heart set in stone on going out and launching, I guess, my own website, and that's rickwilliamsracing.com. So we've sort of drip fed that to the market, and here we are. So can someone just type through a yes, just to make sure? I just want to make sure you can see the slides. Yes, beauty. Okay, thanks, guys. So just on to the products and memberships that we offer. There was just a few emails that came through regarding basically what we do and some concerns about when we notify the bets and all that sort of stuff. So basically, I'm responsible here for the Victorian betting service. In the past, I've tried to spread myself around and do other states and black bookers and all those different sorts of things, and I've done that to a degree with some success, but you're sort of always running around a little bit, always chasing your tail. So around 12 months ago, I decided that I thought that it was probably in my best interest long term as a punter that I focus on one area, and at that stage was Victoria, and it's still Victoria at this stage. Pretty much, I try and get all my stuff out to members, well before the first race. In regards to when the bets go out, as a member, you would get your ratings file and your updates prior to the first race for the Vic betting service. And there's definitely times where we'll notify bets a day or two before the horses run if we think they're good value, and certainly on race day, and at times there's instances where we are required to update a late bet or a saver or a price adjustment or something like that that is required for the betting strategy. We also have a New South Wales betting service that's run by Brian. Basically, that's an SMS and email service. There's no rating sheet involved there, and pretty much Brian focuses solely on the New South Wales side of things. He bets on the metros every week, and there's selected provincial and country meetings that are covered. It's been a profitable service since inception with us at Rick Williams Racing, and when it was with Tips and Ratings, and it's a good service that basically doesn't put a lot of risk down at once on the table. It's more focused on longer price selections, and despite a little bit of a bad patch through winter, it's generally running at about 8% profit on turnover, and probably to this date hasn't really had a great deal of luck from the punting gods. So quite exciting that that appears to be a service that's going to go really well long term. Today we launched a product called the Best of the Best. The service to date has been heavily focused on ratings, because that's what Brian and I do. We sort of do ratings, but there's a lot of people out there that really aren't interested in ratings. What they basically want is they just want to get a file every day with a horse, a tip, a map, a danger, and a rated price and a bet amount. And what we've done is I've been keeping a separate account and bank for particular selections that come through different KPI criterias, and basically they're online as the Victorian tips, and they've gone really well over the course of the year. And what I've done is I've merged them into a product that will be called the Best of the Best, and that will be solely based off of those selections that I generate and have generated. Those won't change, and they'll also include the best bets off of the ratings from Brian. And it's basically a box ticker service. So what we're looking for is we're looking for horses that rate really well and that tick all the boxes. So they've got to have the right figure. They've got to have be good on the map. They're predominantly horses at the top of the market. Probably under $4. So we're not. The aim is we're not going to have a long drawdown or anything like that. And there's guys out there that probably don't want to back 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 horses a day. They might just want to have 500 or 1,000 or a couple of $1,000 per selection, and that's really a product that's aimed at those people. And next Wednesday, we've got an exciting new analyst coming on board that I was first introduced to back in 2010 when I started Bookie Ashes. And this gentleman has gone about developing a very strong public reputation through social media. He's got a long file of results that have been out in the public, and really strong profits. And basically, he focuses heavily on a lot of video work, sectional time analysis, and his service. He pretty much, I guess, if you're familiar with a service like the Trial Spy or Dean's Tips or something like that, he won't be focusing just on one area. There'll be predominantly selections, I think, through Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and Adelaide, and there'll be a mixture of win bets, each way bets, and all those different sorts of things. So it's exciting that we'll be launching that product, and that'll certainly. I do get a lot of inquiries for a product like that because not everyone wants to sit at the computer, and that will obviously help fill the void for our newsletter readers and potential clients and existing clients that may want to go down that track. So is there any questions just regarding the products and memberships before I move to the next slide? Will there be a web for the Black Book? Yeah, definitely. I can arrange to do a webinar for the Black Book launch, and as has happened with some other betting places like Champion Picks and whatnot, we can do an introduction of the analyst to members and readers of the newsletter via a webinar, just like this, and you can certainly do that. RC, with that query there, I'll flick you over an email. I think it might have something to do with the fact that we just switched your account over, deleted it, and put it back in. So I'll flick you an email, mate, for that. So on to the next one. People have asked me. People have asked me about our internal database. So basically, what I do is I've got an internal database that I've created, and the whole idea of that is to basically have a platform where we can produce different ratings and figures based off of things that I think is important and things that I think are important. I can create them using I guess a unique theory or strategy, and what that does is that then means that it's a bit more of an in-house or internal figures as opposed to a database out there. And there's some very good databases out there, and the functionality of those databases, like a GTX or a Ratings to Win, they're certainly highly functional and a lot more functional in the things that they can do than what I've got at this stage. But it's, in my opinion, it's the data that's housed within the database that's the most important thing. So whereas I'm the only person with access to my figures by using a public database like one of the ones we mentioned, I'm not exactly sure how many people use those, but it could be hundreds. So it's quite easy that you can end up with a lot of people landing on the same horse by running the same queries. So 12 months ago, I set out to start off with the new database. What I do in that database is we house our class figures that are basically they're created from a base, and then they're open to adjustments. They're dynamic, and what that means is we may allot, for example, a rating to a horse of 68, and then we might find out a couple of months down the track that was wrong, and it really should have been a 77 or whatever, or it should have been a 64. So it's a dynamic feature, and what we can always do is we can always go back in there, and it's quite simple to overwrite the existing figure, and I can just it's not anything too flash, but I'll just open up that program. So just a very simple little program here, and basically I can select edit ratings, and I may want to just as an example go back to last Saturday on the 29th of August, and then there's all of the races that we have in the database for that particular day, and then we might click on Caulfield, and then there's the races for Caulfield. And if I wanted to, as you can see, I've put in 115 for Bourbon. So what happens is that the database automatically generates a figure that is housed, and then if I need to overwrite that, I'll just go in here. And so if I wanted to make Charmed Harmony 108, then he's 108, and then that will be reflected and updated through that run. It will then carry through all of the place getters runs in that field also. So that's one of the tools I use to obviously continually tune up the figures, because it's never ending. The churning over of the figures. We also have speed and sectional ratings. Basically, what I do is I'm a heavy user of Vince Accardi and his company there, Daily Sectionals. And what Vince does is he sends over particular files for me, and I'll just I'll get one up for you, and I'll download it. So basically, what happens is I'll get a file and download it. And I hope you can. Yep, it's just loading up there for you. So basically, this is a basic file that I get from Vince, and as you can see down the bottom, it's got all the different tabs of the different days and the races. So we cover, even though I don't bet there, I've got the figures for Scone, Cessnock, Grafton, Rose Hill, Warwick Farm, and these files get updated. Obviously, they've got the time for the overall, the early sectional, the sectionals for all the winners and for the field. And what I do is I simply save that file, and it ends up going into my database, and then we run a couple of programs over that, and it ends up spitting out different ratings and figures associated with different things that I've asked the database to do. And just to give you an example or a visual, I'll just endeavour to drag over the database for you so you can just get an idea. It's not overly flash, but it's just a big processor and enables us to be able to obviously crunch a lot of data. So basically that's a file, and so that sheet I just showed you goes into the back end of my database, and I just select what date range I want to run the files and hit run, and it will produce a speed figure and pull out a class figure for each of those horses and all of the races. So that's the first process of the speed. Then the second process is it goes through another filter, which is this one. Don't mind the colors. It adjusts for variance for different factors. Overall, last 600, final, last 200, and it evens that out. With the variance, the computer can only do so much. There is also, like the class ratings, a need for human intervention to smooth things over. It's not an exact science, and the computer can only get me so far, and then basically it gets reproduced again into another file, which will pop up on your screen shortly, and that this final file is basically contains basic race information, as well as some figures as we scroll to the left, and that then gets put into a new table in the database, and it also goes into the South Coast database. So that's that one. That's how that works. And on the slide, I cover also jockey and trainers. So I'll just give you a quick idea of how that works. So I simply navigate my way. Hopefully the screen's not on too much of a lag for you. I navigate my way over here, and we might go on to the Metro jockey rating. So I open that, and then if you look at to the right, basically I open that. There's a few different data tables that this goes to and uses. There's a few different formula fields that have been created on the right that you can see that basically are the intelligence behind what I'm trying to create. And then there's running total fields, which helps with date ranges and a few other different things. And all I do is I just simply hit refresh, and then I'll put in my password. And then this will go now and generate in fairly quick time an updated report of all of the jockey ratings associated with the Metropolitan jockeys. So I keep them separate, the Metropolitan and the country, as what can happen is you can have a jockey like Dean Yendall that rides 1 million winners in the bush, but once he gets to town, he's not as dominant. So I keep it separate, and we've got a Metro. So whenever we bet in the Metro, those jockey ratings are produced through the Metropolitan scale, and whenever we're betting in the provincial or the bush, they're produced using the country scale. So they're certainly, looking at our rating sheet, it would be hard to tell from a member point of view, but certainly depending on the distance of the race, the day of the race, the location of the race, and different things, there's a lot of different ways that variables are balanced out, and a lot of they're measured. So I'll just return to our slide, and obviously there's various report building abilities that go with having the database. I forgot about that one, so I'll just drag it back. And yeah, so you've all probably seen the form guide that I've produced. This is just a raw base form guide. So for me to produce this form guide, I've got it set up. It's quite simple. Again, if you take a look to the right and at the database fields, it incorporates 5 data tables. So it's pulling information from 5 databases. If we look at the formula fields, there's numerous formulas involved to balance the figures out. And again, there's some other stuff with different parameters and running totals with averages and maximums and all those different sorts of things. So if I wanted to run a form guide for Thursday, I'd simply just change the save as for the date, which would be the 3rd, and hit save. And then I'd go to parameters here, and you'll see that pop up on your left. And then I'll just simply pick from the calendar for the 3rd and hit the green tick, and it should go off and produce the form guides for tomorrow. So it's just produced 4 form guides for every race in Australia tomorrow, within 5 seconds. And this data depth parameter, I've got it set on 90 days. So the information you're seeing here across the board is basically, it's gone back and it's formulated everything on the last 90 days of data associated with the horse. If the horse hasn't had a run within 90 days, it comes up as a blank. And then I can change that. I could put in 1,000 days just to be extreme and hit refresh, and then it updates. So then it's got, it goes back over the last 3 years of data for each horse, and we'll obviously update that. And although I don't use it a lot, I do have the ability to double click on a horse and drill down into some of their form. So this isn't a part of the database that I've spent a lot of time or money getting right. It's pretty rough around the edges, and I tend to view this exact information in South Coast database because it's just a little bit easier to navigate. I also have the ability, just for a different type of file, to you're probably familiar with the speed profiles that Vince does. So I've got the ability to also, sorry, that's the wrong one. I've got the ability to also create my own in the database. It's obviously rough. It's not, Vince has got a lot of years of logic, but mine's more based on raw figures, whereas he's got a lot of algorithms work into it. And this was a race that we had a look at today. The eventual winner was Lucky Largo, so we didn't back it, but we did back the runner-up, and it was an each-way bet. But as you can see, Lucky Largo was quite dominant on the grid here for the first, second, and third section. It was certainly dominant over the last 200 metres or so. So it's certainly a valuable tool at times. It's something that I'll use to get an idea, but it's also something that can only be used the way I do it as a little bit of an add-on. But certainly the way I rate the races up has a lot more merit in it than running a report like this. Although it's quite handy, it's not what I've built the foundation of the model on. So, but certainly it's a good program, and I'm a bit of a novice, and I was sort of able to play around and produce this report. And to change it, I can simply, there's probably an easier way to do it, but I may be able to just, I haven't done this, but I could go race 5, the 5th, Moonee Valley, and we can go 1400 to 2000, and I'm guessing that the good race on Saturday might be race 8 or 7. So just for the purpose of the webinar, is that the big race? Yeah, there's the big race. So all of a sudden, just like that, we've got a speed profile for the race, and as you can see, contributor midfield a little bit worse through the first section. He's in about the top 3 runners through the middle, and he's certainly got the best late close on the raw data, and he's got the best last 200. So very quickly, by using how a race will pan out. And then on the other end, excuse me, we've got the cleaner. And obviously we know how hard he goes. And it's shown up in the data here that, excuse me again, sorry, that he's going to burn the turf. So you can certainly run quick little reports like that and get a bit of an idea. So I'll just switch that over now, and I'll go on to well, I'll leave the Sapler mirror till another slide, but I'll just open the floor to any questions. We've got a question here from Aaron. How did you go about incorporating trials? I'd imagine it would be tricky. Look, it generally is. It can be tricky. I know that the Trial Spy and Dean's had a lot of success, with a trial foundation based off of speed and sectionals and who ran the fastest here and the fastest there. But certainly what I find when I do it is that it's quite valid to have a really good go at the trials and really take a lot of notice of the class of horse. When they haven't had a debut run, you can generally, find one if they're, say, racing against a horse that, has come out and been competitive in open company, or it might be a horse that hasn't had a run that went really well to the line with a higher rated horse with a rating of 70 or 72 in a trial. And you can generally get an indication from that, regardless of the times, that the horse has been competitive with a higher quality animal. So that's how obviously I get the sectional data also, so it all helps and it's worth paying attention to. But I must say, when I'm doing the trials, I do I actually rate the class of the trials and sort of get an idea that way, and at least that way you can really benchmark the horse in the trial that hasn't had a run against a horse that you know a fair bit about, and it it can certainly help you. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but there's no right and wrong way. It's just whatever way that you think works best for you. So is there any other questions there, guys, just regarding the internal database or anything about how it does? I'll just wait 30 seconds for if anyone's got anything to type through. Okay, so I've got a question here. How many different services do I pay for data? I through the South Coast database, and obviously daily sectionals is a paid service as well. So I think that's about it. And obviously I have to pay for the computer programmer because I'm not smart enough to to build that. But I can fumble my way through, creating some reports, because Crystal reports, what I just showed you, it's not really new, but it's quite user friendly for processing data. But certainly it's not cheap to get all of the data and all the different sorts of things. It costs a lot of money, but I guess like anything in business, you need to try and stay ahead of the game. And a lot of the times you get a lot of information, and you don't know what to do with it, and you just have to be patient and dump it into a database, and over time you learning how to use it, and what to do with it. So that's that one. Any more questions for the internal database? No? Okay, let's move on. Okay, just frozen up a little bit there. So I just had an email come through. I hope I read it right. I've just got one more question there for the database. What plans do you have for new database stuff? What would you like to be able to do? Look, basically, I'd love to be able to incorporate different jurisdictions. Certainly, there's Hong Kong, there's Singapore. As we sort of progress down the track with the Spring Carnival, there's more and more horses coming from overseas, so which is sort of makes it harder to bet confidently, because we don't have enough information on the horses. So really, it's incorporating those sorts of things. It would be nice to. There's a few different things I want to do with testing different ways of creating a class figure that I've been working on. So certainly, there's a lot of irons in the fire for ways to evolve from the current structure and systems. But as I said before, these things take a lot of time and a lot of patience, because when you're dealing with data, it can change so quickly. Things that were profitable can become a loss. Things that were a loss that can become profitable. So you really need to ensure that you're working with a solid foundation of figures, so you can sort of be all over it. Otherwise, it's open to big ups and downs and swings. But look, I'd like my database to probably have a bit more intelligence behind selecting runs automatically and all those different sorts of things. And that's something that I'll be able to try and get the programmer to do once I, have a better understanding of how I can, sort of try and predict that. So I've got a lot of notes and a lot of different things, but it's just going to take time. So just with weight versus speed, there's a lot of people out there that they're pro weight or pro speed, or anti either, and I certainly I'm not in that camp. I think that they both play their parts. Obviously, there's a huge focus on weight, because that's pretty much how everyone's been brought up to do the form for 100 years. That it's all about the weight and all those different sorts of things, and certainly weight's a factor, and it plays some part. But I think the more overall contributing factor is the ability of the horse, and certainly one of the better ways to judge the ability of a horse is to ascertain how fast they run. If we look at any form of racing in the world, whether it be the 100-meter sprint, swimming, motorbikes, Formula One, any type of race, it's all about how fast they can go. But once we get to horse races, people tend to dismiss that as a factor that has little relevance. But certainly it's a strong factor in what I do. As I said earlier, sometimes it plays. Sometimes I might think the weight's a bit more important under certain circumstances than the speed. Sometimes I may think that the speed's more important than the weight. So it all depends on the circumstances of the race. Sorry, that should say speed. I'll just fix my typo up in front of the audience. But uh, yeah, I'm just a big believer that they can coexist. That there doesn't need to be one that's better than the other, or vice versa. At the end of the day, they're both factors that we need to take into account. And rather than saying one's no good, it's up to us as a professional to work out the recipe as such. So, just if you were cooking a cake, you need to get your recipe right, and certainly when doing the form, there's a recipe, and it's about not over or understating variable factors, and getting that right. And certainly I've sort of learnt that through numerous tests and whatnot that we've done historically on the data set, that when you can get that recipe right, you can garnish a really good edge on the market. And just in regards to the gentleman that emailed about where he could find the weight and class, if I hope I read your question right. If you just go to the RISA website, risa.com.au, that will certainly show you the horse's handicap ratings, which is their class as such, or a form of their class, and their weights. And some other good ones are racing and sports, which is very comprehensive, and RaceNet also. So there's a lot of different places out there that you can go and access free form. In regards to speed, that's a little bit more different. There are some places that are starting to publish speed. Most of the places it's a paid service, because the racing industry doesn't really supply any great products for the public, unfortunately. A lot, opposite to our counterparts in Asia that have a fantastic platform to offer members of the public access to really good betting information. But at punters.com.au, they seem to have free stuff on there for speed. And again, racing and sports has some speed stuff also. So it's worth, if you wanted to follow different sorts of things, certainly having a look at those websites. So again, I'll just hang out a minute here, and if you've got any questions about any of these things, just pop it on your chat. Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, there wasn't any questions coming through there, so we'll just move on to the next one. And we've had recently had a trial, and we've had some people that just wanted to have a look at the user interface. So I'll just quickly go over that. So I'll just go over it quickly first. So basically, we've got a live chat and advice panel. So It's obviously very important that we can communicate with members. It's frustrating for members as paying clients to not have good communication, and it's the challenge for the supplier of the information to ensure that they have a platform or a system that satisfies the needs of their customers. Especially when you're paying good money to access the service. So I sort of made a decision that I'd make a fairly reasonable investment into a new system, and the system I think so far has worked pretty well. I'm quite happy with it because basically I asked for is what we've got at the moment. I haven't even gone back and asked for any enhancements or changes. So they've done a really good job. But as with anything, there's certainly room for improvement, and there's a list of things that I've got a meeting with them tomorrow. But the whole idea was just to be able to, with the live chat, is be able to, chat with you guys live and update you with, general chit chat, and certainly a panel that is on the left that's reserved purely for betting updates. I understand the need for a mute button, so that's one of the things that I've been asked by numerous people that we'll work on. We've got the ability to have the advice panel, which sits above the chats. So I'll just drag it over now. So we've got the advices. So basically, the idea here was people will generally at times dispute that an email or a message didn't go out or anything like that. And it's not to say that anyone's right or wrong, because sometimes with the way technology works, things do go missing. But at least this way, every time we send a message via email or an SMS, it simply just gets logged in here, and then the member is able to go into their members area. I'll get more. This will be a big display instead of this compact one that'll get fixed up, and you can simply go in there and click on, what was sent, and it obviously says the time which is getting adjusted, and you can select through all the other days. And then if you are a member of numerous services, obviously you can have the ease of and the ability of just simply selecting across the top, and you have access to all of the historical updates and betting advice that has gone out. For me, just so you sort of understand, I just simply hit this plus sign, and then I'll just type in Sandown, and type whatever in the email, and that's the SMS, and I just hit send, and it's as simple as that for me. So it's quite an efficient way for me to send them out. And then with the chat panel, obviously, again, like the advices, you've got the ability to select through your different products up the top, which is really helpful if you've got multiple memberships, and certainly a really good way to go about it. The files are attached in the system, and certainly it's a good way to get out. You get the live update on the page, you get the SMS, and you get the email, and it gets logged in the system. So, there's 4 different methods of delivery, and you get the file also logged in there that you can log in and download. So, it's hopefully it's going to be a really good platform for us. And the way it was built was basically the intelligence behind it. Once we get everyone onto the new payment system, is that it will run the business in the back end. It will automatically assign you to your proper thing and take you off and put you in the chat and take you out. So there's no need to to really have to hire an admin person. And due to the fact that I'm open to the members and in such contact with you, if you ever have any queries or something, we can sort of just handle it there and then on the chat. So the customer service should be pretty quick also. So is there any questions on the members interface before we move on to the next one? Okay, no questions have come through for that one, so we'll move on to the next one. This is the betting strategy. So I guess for followers that have been with me for a long time, and I'm lucky enough that a lot of the names I'm looking at now have been great loyal followers over the years. We obviously touched earlier on the database and how 12 months ago we went on a journey to create a new database, and basically in doing so it also created a new way that we went about betting. And through a lot of testing we did on 4 to 5 years of back data, it suggested certainly that the best way to use the figures, the way I was doing them, was to back every overlay, and certainly that proved to be quite fruitful over a period of time, and certainly I'm sure that it will continue to be a fruitful way of doing it. Even going down the track. So such is the way the figures are derived, that they're pretty accurate, and we don't blend with the market. So some people say you should blend, and some people say you shouldn't. I'm I'm a believer of blending, but at the end of the day, people say the SP is the most efficient public market, and the SP, settles a minute before the race. So really, unless you're going to bet in the last 30 seconds and suck in all of the late betting intelligence into into your database and blend it then and bet in the last 30 seconds. If you're going to do it that way, it's probably a good way. If you want to plagiarize the prices, Bet365 puts up a day before the races and mix it with your prices, you're going to struggle, because the bookies get it wrong too, and we know how much they get it wrong by the price movements we see. So if you sort of put your prices up and you're blending too early, you certainly cost yourself in a lot of circumstances. But pretty much what happens, guys, is I have an NTR file that it's called, and it should appear shortly on your screen. And basically what this is a file. So the form guide you saw before, I dump that data here, and then there's certain parts of information out of that form guide that I want, and it gets obviously pulled up into the areas that I want it to get pulled up into. So a lot of people like to track their bets. What I like to track is my bets, and I like to track obviously how that horse came about to being a bet, and measuring all of the indicators that got us there in the first place. So we've got the differential, which is basically how many points above the race strength figure the horse is. We've got the class rating, we've got the speed rating, we've got the jockey and trainer, we've got a class speed jockey and trainer contribution, we've got a raw rating, we've got the formula that creates the prices. I don't, I don't say I think this horse will win half the time, so make it $2. It's purely the ratings tell me that. So then off of all of that stuff, I assign a ranking, and basically, so we get a ranking for the price, we get a ranking for the differential, class, speed, jockey, trainer, score, KPI rating, KPI rank, market price percentage, and KPI price. So there's two different figures. I create variables, and then I'll create a KPI price, basically running off of the KPIs. So that's a very important aspect to what we do. So every time that I've got a price for a horse of $2 or 901, I can obviously go back and look at why that price is like that. So, sorry, I'll just drag over the database again. So then what I'm able to do is every time I'm done with the file from that day, I will then put it into my database, and then I have a file here which isn't there. I'll just open it. Which is this one called NTR test adjust. And basically what this does is all those colorful cells you saw before, this pulls all the raw data, all of that data into a master file, okay? And then this master file gets hooked into different results. This is a basic one, but a simple one that I can just easily go in and have a look at how different factors, different ratings, different figures, different rankings, how profitable they are or aren't with the SP price. And from there, I'm able to export this file in a CSV format. And from there, what I do is I import it into this program, which is called SAP Lemira. And I'll just export that one you just saw daily, and I'll just hit refresh document, goes to where the document is, and update it to the latest. And basically what this report that you're looking at, or this visualization contains, is all of every horse we've rated in the last 12 months. So just to give you an idea of what we can do from here is if we wanted to look at how horses went with our price rank, the program's so simple. I just drag this over to the left, and it will just track it. So the green line here is wins. Okay, so the important thing from the visuals you'll be looking at is from time to time there'll be a no value, which was like a market or debut, but you know, when you're working with ratings and figures, you really need, where you can, if you think that they're going to be accurate, to run in order of your ranking. So really, your number one ranked needs to win more than your number two rank. Your number two rank needs to win more than your number three rank, and so on and so on. And if you you know, have a look at, you know, the yellow, you know, certainly rank 1 wins 28.4, rank 2 wins, say, I'll round the figures up just to make it even, 17, rank 3 is 12, rank 4 is 8.5, rank 5 is 7.5. So there's a distinct correlation between the frequency of winners, actual winners, versus the ranking of our ratings. Now I can just remove that, and I can ask this database very quickly, well, Rick, how does your class rankings stick up? And I simply go like that, and it's a bit bunched. It's a bit harder to see. But if you just look at the green is the amount of wins. and there's the rank. So as you can see, 1 wins more than 2, 2 wins more than 3, 3 wins more than 4, 5 actually wins more than 4, but then it's back on track. We're only dealing with small. We don't have a massive sample, but there's enough here that I've been able to pick up some established patterns. People say to me, a lot of people don't agree with how I do the jockey ratings. So let's look at the jockey rank. As you can see again, jockey rank 1 wins more than jockey rank 2, wins more than jockey rank 3. Number 4 pokes his head up, but more than 5, more than 6. So again, the figures are really accurate, and they're portraying that, that the rankings are accurate. Yeah, I've tongue twisted myself. We can ask it about what's the next one on the list for the rank that you'll see in your rating sheet. Speed. Let's look at the speed rank. Again, number 1 dominates from number 2, 2 from 3, 3 from 4. Trainer rank. It's the same again, but it's a bit more even, but it's the same again. Rank 1 wins more than 2, 2 wins more than 3. It's there, plain and simple. So what I found that was really interesting, that as I continued to collate the data, sorry, I'll just get this slide back up so I can get back on track. I was able to go over different things with a fine tooth comb and really establish, okay, we can sit there at the desk and we can back all the overlays and we can put our balls on the line every day, and it's pretty stressful, let's admit it. We're having 40 or 50 bets a day, and it's hard work. Or we can really tune into the way I can analyze the data and pick up on different patterns of profit pockets, and be a lot more selective, and certainly over a period of time, it's been quite a good exercise to do so. So I'll just show you something. I'll put the visualization tool back on the screen. So we might want to just go, okay, well, let's only have a look at the top raters, price rank. So all you need to do is click the clog, filter 1. So then all of a sudden now, sorry, that's the wrong one. Price rank 1. We'll click that and click apply. Then all of a sudden, what this has done is it's basically filtered in all of our top raters, if you like, and at the current minute, our top raters and these profit figures, guys, and results figures there, it's based on proportionate betting on the SP. So it's not based on the rated price, it's based on the SP for the analytical purposes. And so basically, for horse SP $2, we're saying it's based on a 2.5 unit bet. And if you have a $5 SP, it's 1 unit. So basically, what we can do there is we can look at the top raters, and I've had a question just come through that I can do now. I can go by price. So the top raters by price. No, the better way to do it is I'll get rid of the top rater, and I'll just go, I want to filter the price, and I want the price to be between, we'll call it $1.10 and $1.70. And I can tell you now that they're not profitable. So they're 16 units down. So they're not a profitable conveyance at the moment. If you can see that, if that's good for you there, Andrew. So I'll just go back to the price rank 1. So what I sort of found out was that looking at, the different ways that we're doing everything, the fact that we've got such a high strike rate on the top raiders, and the profit on turnover, which I can put in there also. It's here somewhere. So I'll just put that there. So, the top raiders, if you back them all at SP, they're running at minus 2% pot, and that's at SP. So, it's certainly possible to do better than that. And there's again. So what I found is with a certain KPI rating that I produce, which isn't public, it's not on the sheet, and it never will be. But the KPI rating. If I filter the KPI rating, just a very simple filter, because a lot of people have asked me how backfitted are the tips because they've been going so well. I just know that if they're at the top end and they rate between 97.5 and 1,000 and 100, and it's as simple as that. It's sort of there's 94 units profit at 13% on turnover with a 41% strike rate. So that's as basically as good as where we were before we adjusted our strategy after the big drawdown from backing all the overlays. So where I sort of sit at the moment is there's really no need to back all the overlays and burn, tune out 4-5% on turnover. When certainly we can be a lot more selective and back every single one of these runners that fits into this certain criteria. There's 13% profit on turnover there, and then what we can do is there's other things that I know I can do that are profitable, which I can give you an example of shortly. But that's a big reason why I've changed the strategy, because I know that there's only around 400 selections there, but they're based purely off of the figures. It's not like there's 100 rules. It's it's the top raider with one rule. So, and I know that because I manually compile the figures, they're not computer generated to get into that NTR sheet. That this is a really solid foundation for us to go forward. And the reality is, up around 13% on turnover, we're getting a lot bigger value for money for a lot less risk. And at the end of the day, the absolute profit is the absolute return and profit in dollars at the end of the day is pretty much exactly the same. So I can do that. Another thing that I look at is I might want to look at a maiden, let's just say. So I just put description up there, and I just simply type in maiden. So basically, that'll just highlight all the maidens in the database over the last year. So then that is our overall result for the maidens. Now, what we can do here is I sort of know, when I'm rating a race, that put in class here, and it doesn't really show us much, does it? But what we can sort of see here is, that's too confusing for you. It's hard to see. I will do it a different way. I sort of have an understanding of the average, how the class figure I assign to the average maiden. So like with the diff rank before that I mentioned. So if I get a horse and I rate it over 64 in a maiden, they're break even. they've got a 40% strike rate. So if I make that 66, we're at, there's 39 bets for 22 wins at 56% strike rate. So again, it's a small sample, but we're not backfitting anything here to, for track or barrier or favourite last start. It's simply saying that when a horse in this class of race is this good, they're going to win this much of the time, and that's why we've had such great success in the provincials. So even while we've got the maidens up there, I'll just remove the class, and let's have a look at what happens if I rate a maiden and there's a horse in there that rates 100 or above on speed. There's 145 bets, 49 wins, 34% strike rate, 36 units, but at 17% profit on turnover. And remembering that's that's proportionate to SP. So I know a couple of guys have been following some things, and they're doing a lot better than that. So when I say there's a new strategy, these are the different things that I've been able to really hone in on and develop. And certainly we're not dealing, as I said, with massive sample sizes, but it's a ratings based filter. And as I said before, there's not 100 different rules to try and ground out a profit. It's just that when a horse gets to a maiden that can break 100 on speed, which is basically a midweek class horse, they're going to win a lot of maidens, 33% of the time. So, when we've got a horse that's $10 and they're, it's $16 on the bookies, and I say I don't really want to back it, it's because there's a horse in that race that fits into a particular profit pocket, as I refer to, that is like what we've just gone over. And I could go over a lot of different scenarios that are very similar. Just simply using our internal ranking system with our ratings, and it's just if there's a horse that can run 100 in the maiden, well, they're going to win a lot. So for argument's sake, let's just see what would happen if they were above 64 in a maiden. Okay, so look at that. So that's if we've got a horse that I rate 64 class or above that can run to 100 and it's ran in a maiden, there's been 21 bets for 15 wins, 71% strike rate, 41% profit on turnover. So, hopefully now it's really starting to highlight and illustrate the real power that we've got behind us with these analytical tools. And now that we've got the ability to really go back and crunch the numbers. And, I'm 100% in agreement that you need big data depth for a lot of things, especially when people are trying to create a system with multiple rules, like over 10. But again, when we're just measuring what a horse can do on its ability in a certain grade of race, I'm a believer that it's a pretty good indication that they're horses that you just want to back. So that's really the crux of why we've changed tone and gone away from the other theory. Certainly, if you wanted to continue on the other theory, you could, but there really isn't any need to. At the end of the day, it's about absolute profit. It's about cents on the dollar, and we can bet a lot less money, about a third less, triple our profit on turnover, and make at least the same amount of money. So just on the last point there, that comes down to effort and the risk versus reward. So that is why we've got we've had a big swing in the betting strategy. It was something that I always had in the back of my mind once I had enough information to go off that I wanted to do. I wish I did a little bit earlier. It would have saved us a horrible run, but in the end, the horrible run forced my hand to sort of go into it. And since we've done that, I think we've picked up around 45 units at about 40% profit on turnover. So certainly you wouldn't think that those figures are sustainable over a 12-month period, but if we could, continue on and settle, around the 15, then that would obviously be terrific. And even if it was 8, that'd be great. But I just hope that little demonstration helps to give you a little bit more clarity about why I've made those particular decisions. I'm guessing I might get a fair few questions here, so I'm just going to put this on mute for a minute and have a drink of water and be back on to answer any questions you've got. And just to answer your question, John, I do not have any more connection with Champion Picks. That all connections I had with Champion Picks ceased on the 31st of January 2015. But guys, please don't be shy. If you've got any questions about what we just went over, now's the time to pop them on the chat. Okay, well, we've got 0 questions. So, I guess I'll move on to the next one. Just regarding the bet size and recommendations. And thanks, Perry. I'll shoot you a message after the webinar, mate, just regarding that query there for the Black Bookers. Thanks for joining us, Perry. I remember you back from 2000, back in the Boogie Basher days. It goes quick. So just in regards to the bank size, obviously we made a decision to adjust to a recommended bank of 200 units for the ratings. This is a very conservative approach, and it was an approach that that we went with before we adjusted the strategy. With the current strategy that we've got, 200, is a safe point. I would think that you could probably get away with, say, going with 150 and meeting it in the middle. But even just myself, having the liberty to now, back a horse to win and back a horse each way, or have a couple of 2.5 units on a horse and follow it up with a Quinella. It's sort of giving us a bit more flexibility to certainly to have more options to bet. And I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. We could whack it back to 100, but then we're back to, if we wanted to do that, we sort of could be outlaying 5 units in a race, which is going to be, represented by 5% of our overall capital. Whereas the way we're set up now, not that we've done it, but if there was ever a need or an opportunity to bet 5 units in a race, we can do it, and that's the max, and it still comes in at 2.5% of capital. So it really does give us a good opportunity to do a few different things. We're having, I remember I used to get a lot of questions about why don't we back this horse each way, and it's, well, we've spent 3.5 units on win betting, which is 3.5% of our bank. I know the horse looks a good price to place, but do we have a unit on that a place and a unit on something else a place, and we've got 5.5% out of our bank, and we may get nothing. So it just really wasn't feasible to use a strategy like that with what we were doing. Whereas now, with the 200, there's probably two ways we can look at it. The first way is, well, we should be having more on each win, which is true. But then, we've managed to snag a couple of Quinellas. We managed to get a few good place bets up. We managed to get a double collect at Geelong yesterday. So, they're also little things that we may not have been able to. We definitely wouldn't have been able to do it on a 100-unit bank. And, depending on circumstances, we may not have been able to do it on a 150-unit bank. So, look, going forward, a strategy of 200 units, I have had a big think about if people ask me how much money they should start with. I think, how much money you start with depends on what you need to get out of it, and what you get out of it needs to be a reflection of what you're paying for the service. So, what the conclusion I came to is that if someone's going to come to me and ask how much money should I use for starting the ratings, well, I think you should, put aside $1,000 there, and then your unit's $100, and basically your subscription fee then is 2.5 units a month, and I think that's a pretty good fit. That if we're able to say generate, 8 or 10 units a month, then you're still getting $800 a month profit after your subscription. Whereas if you came in with a $10,000 bank with the ratings and you're on 200 units and you're on a $50 unit, then you sort of got 5 units to break even and cover the subscription fee, and that it sort of just makes it a bit harder. So I've decided that I think the right thing to do is obviously advise that if you want to come on and do the ratings, that $20,000 really should be a figure that you should set aside. Obviously, not everybody has the time or $20,000, and obviously you can do it without $20,000. It's just the structure that but obviously we've got the tips or the best of the best, and that's obviously a package that experiences a lot less drawdown. It's single betting on a race, so backing one horse, and a high strike rate. Currently with the current strategy around 33%. So I would recommend that anyone that wanted to start out as a client, that if you just wanted to start off with a $10,000 bank, you can run a 100-unit bank off of the tips, and I'm quite comfortable to advise that would be a safe way to get you into the game. And again, it falls in line well with your subscription fees. So, there's no point charging, $500 a month for a product when you're recommending someone have a $10,000 bank, because they need to make 5 units before they make a profit, and the maths just doesn't fit. So sort of where we're at with our pricing and whatnot, it's all been structured around the fact that I think that 2.5 units profit is highly achievable, and a good balance with you recommended the size of the bank we recommend for each product. But essentially, at the end of the day, what you bet and your risk tolerance comes down to yourself. Obviously, your bank sizes can be adjusted. It's up to you. In regards to profit, certainly, I'm here to make over 100 units every year, and it's something that I think besides 1 year in the last 5 years, we've been able to do, and that really is the target. That makes it worthwhile for everybody. And again, if you had your $10,000 bank and we made 100 units, and it's cost you, you're an annual member at $2,000 or $2,500. At the end of the day, you've still been able to make a $7,000 to $8,000 profit, which I think is pretty good. Yeah, and we're working here off a current strike rate of the KPI selections of around 33%. So that's sort of where I'd expect we should hover. Race strike rates are a little bit different. The current strategy has a 12-month profit on turnover around 14%, and the previous strategy of when we're backing all overlays is currently less than 5%. And a lot more work, and a lot more risk. It's not like we're spending the same amount of money and just getting 5%. We're literally spending heaps more money, turning over a heaps more to get 5% on turnover, and the absolute profit at the end of the day is less than the other strategy. So that's sort of where I think we're at with bank size and expectation. As we get a bit further down the track, I'd be pretty keen to get a maths guru on, and it would be nice to do a webinar with them, and they can have a look at our figures and our strike rates and all those different sorts of things, and really come up with an optimal strategy. But for the time being, we're still in our infancy, and although confident we're still going to make really good profits long term, it's just nice to be safe going forward for certainly current and any new members on board, just as a duty of care, because as we know, we're dealing with horses, and things can go wrong from time to time. So that's the rundown there, listeners, on the bank sizes and expectations. Again, I'll just hold by here for a minute. If you've got any questions, pop them on the chat. If not, I'll see you on the next slide. Yep. Okay. No questions again. So we just had another email come in just regarding Perry, how much suggested bank for black bookers? Look, the analyst, he's got a bit of an old school strategy. 1 by 1 each way, or this or that. So I think that I had a word with him, and he's pretty confident that he's got an optimal number. If it's my call now, I would go out and say 200's a good number. He over his 1,800 selections, he's in excess of 700 units in profit, and that's a big profit. And there's really not a great deal of significant drawdowns, but things can happen. So I would suggest that starting out that would probably be around the ballpark, and I guess that would mean if you had $5,000 to throw at it, just start off with a $25 unit, or if you had 10 grand, just start off with 50. Certainly the pricing of that product will be less than the premium ratings product, so you're not going to have to turn over as much money and have as big a unit to certainly get back your monthly subscription. It's probably only going to be, I think, $90 or something for the Saturdays and $149 for the monthly, which is pretty much every day. And so you sort of got to pick up a unit a month profit to cover your subscription. So again, I think that fits in really well with the strategy I'm trying to adopt. That members can obviously pay for intelligence, but be able to also have the ability to get a good return on that fee and have it in line with profitable expectations. So with the required bookmakers, look, the reality is we need as many as possible. If that means you've got 5 accounts and every single bet, you have to have 20 here, 50 there, whatever. That's sort of where it's getting to. Obviously, I focus in Vic, and it's quite difficult. Things are getting hard. One of our members today just got banned from the TAB, which was quite interesting. So it's a landscape, I think, that probably for us in Victoria isn't going to get any better. Now that Racing Victoria has obviously got all this sponsorship money coming in from the corporates, you would have to think that there's a bit of talk going on about what's going to be happening and minimum bet laws, and you'd have to think that they're probably not on the table, unfortunately. So as many accounts as possible. If you can, use Bet365 and Club All Sports, as they obviously are a couple that offer the SP guarantee and best tote guarantee. So this is a product that's particularly good, I think, if you're starting out in the game and you want to learn how to where to take the best price, or if you're just a bit more of a bet and forget. At least here, if we put out an alert and you're trying your best to learn how to monitor the market and you get it right, well done, you got it right, you'll get the good price. But if you get it wrong, it's not going to cost you a lot because you're going to get the drift. So they're a couple of good ones, but obviously if you go too well, they're fraught with danger of getting switched off. Betfair is obviously a good product. The Betfair SP is quite a good product. I know Betfair does confuse some people. The exchange, it really isn't that difficult, but I can understand how it can be confusing. But certainly with the SP, if you're familiar with just going and taking a tote that's a price that's best tote or anything like that, or a fixed price, there is the option, especially if the horse is drifting, that you can just go to Betfair, click Betfair SP, put in how much you want to have on it, and it just goes on. So that's quite a simple option. And just with the rest of the bookies, recent reports have it that it's everyone's got a good story, or not a good story, but a reasonable story to say about some, and everyone's got a poor story. So we've all been banned from a bookie that someone we know hasn't been, and vice versa. So just I don't know the exact science behind keeping an account open, but certainly if we rated a horse, and it was a double overlay, and Bet365 added it at $16, and you went and tried to have 500 on it, you're probably not going to last too long. So at the end of the it's hard work to find winners, and to just top off our work of finding winners, we do need to put a little bit extra work in to try and preserve our betting accounts where we can. And obviously there's a new frontier of offshore things that have popped up recently, and if you're really in trouble, that's another option you could look at. Obviously, you need to be careful and do your due diligence with those types of people. So was there any questions there, guys, with the bookmakers? Okay, no questions. So we'll move on to the next one. Look, just regarding the result recording, certainly in this industry, as a service provider, you know, our aim is to be profitable. Our aim is to obviously attract clients. So, you know, there's always, you know, I guess the risk that when you're looking at a service provider that you don't have a lot of faith in the results that they've recorded. You know, our results are updated daily online. In fact, I'll just pull the screen over and go over it. Just get it up. So basically, when you want to look at our results, go to the website, and I like to do a little recap for us for the day. So, you know, today it's the betting recap that I'll put up there. So it's just nice to go over it and gives the members and readers a little bit of an idea of our day. So that goes up after the last race when I type it up. I generally like to pop in there a nice picture of a horse we've had a good win on. And if you sort of have a look at the tab here, so I think this is a good way to display it. I think it's simple enough, but obviously I'm always open to suggestions. There's a lot of sheets on the old website, so I've got a button here, and if you click that, it sort of takes you to all the old sheets that you can go and have a look at. It would take me a very long time to repost them. Then we've got obviously another tab here for the month. So you click on the month and it'll drop down and display a button for each particular day. I just need to edit. I want to have a green button for a winning day, and if we lose, I'll make the button red because I think that'll just be nice. And then as the months start, we'll just have another tab. Once we get to 2020, I'm not sure what we'll do, but certainly I post the results very as quick as I can after the last race for the Victorian, for all the products. So we've got the Victorian ratings, we've got the tips, we've got the New South Wales, we've got the results tally master, which I'll just click on a little bit later. We've got the black book, which will be there, and the best of the best. So basically the best of the best, it's going to have a running sheet, which I'll just download for you. So it'll have a sheet with all of the bets, which will be continually updated, and then it will also have an update here of the daily file that went out, and that was the file for today, and that will just be saved on that tab there. With the results tally, I had a few people concerned with the way I was doing the results master. So what I've done is I've just edited, just edited the way that it's done. My belief is, you know, I've got a long-term focus and a long-term goal on results. So I'm not, although I like to win every day, week, month, and year, I'm not obsessed with how I'm going, like that. So I was always happy just to have a continual or infinite tally of results. It was suggested to me that someone didn't like that. So what I've done is I've gone and started a new tab. So there's two tabs. There's the overall and the from August 1, and basically this has all of the services and the particular results tally for the particular service, which starts running from August 1. So as you can see, with the ratings results for Victoria, from August 1, it's minus 8.8 units. It's clearly visible that we had a drawdown of 53. It's there. And then we changed the strategy. And obviously, if I just do a quick tally there, that's the wrong one, and I need to enable that. If I just do a quick tally there, there from the strategy adjustment, there's a 45 unit profit there over our last 10 betting days. So, look, I think that August 1's the new season of racing, and if people want to have a look at our overall results from day one, or if they want to look at the results from a more recent standpoint, being the 1st of August or the new racing season, then any member or potential client obviously has the ability to look at whatever results they want. And obviously the tipping service starts from the 1st of August. They all start from the 1st of August. And the Black Book should say 0 because it hasn't started. And the best of the best started with a minus 5.9. So that's the edit I've done there. And I'll continue each day to just update both tabs. And hopefully that's a good, transparent way that will help keep people happy. Basically, that's our results page that I was just on, so it will always be there. Once the results are posted, I've decided that over the last week I'll email that link to the members of that service, just so they're notified that the results are posted and they can have a look. And there's a lot of different debates online about how people should record results. I don't really believe in recording, saying, "Oh, you should record it at SP" or anything like that, because our job's to beat SP, and by recording SP, it doesn't truly reflect the ability of the advice from this service to take a value price. And in the end, that's what it's all about. So the way that I think is a fair way to truly reflect the results is when we get a winner. Sometimes it's easy to pick the price. A lot of the times it's not. In the event that there's possibly a lot of variance between the highs and lows in a price, generally what we do is we put it to the members in the live chat, and we'll ask them what price they took and pick the lower of the prices. So that way, basically our results should resemble that if you shopped poorly and took poor prices every time, that will be your result. On the flip side, if you shopped well and took the best price all the time, you'd be doing significantly better. And from some of the members I've spoken to, that can be in excess of 30 to 40 units greater than what is expressed on the final results sheet, which is significant. So that being the case, I think that the way we record results is fair. It's fair on the current members. It's fair on existing potential clients on getting a proper indication of what they can achieve, and it's also fair on the service that it still enables the service to show that it's a profitable service. So I think all around the board, it's a bad way to do it. So, but as always, I'm open to suggestions. And that's it, guys. That's all I had from the questions that came through. I've just got the last slide there. That's obviously question time. We've been going for an hour and 45 minutes, but we've still got most of the people online. So if you've got any closing questions or anything you want to know or any queries, now's the time. I'll answer the questions as they come through. Some people might have a long question to type and mightn't be fast typers. So we've been going an hour 45. If I don't have anything by an hour 50, I'll close it down. But I'll stop talking now and I'll just wait to see if some questions come in. Okay, we've got a question from Ken. I'll just publish that comment, Ken, so everyone can see. Rick, over the carnival, you're more likely to take a broader approach again to the ratings and back most overlays, given the interstate horses and many other variables. I certainly, if I'm sitting here now, Ken, I would think that I certainly would take a broader approach. Obviously, when we're sort of dealing at this time of year, and especially in the bush, it is quite easy to put a line through a lot of horses, and you've probably got a bit more of an understanding from the visualization we looked at that some horses with certain figures are just so dominant. But definitely with the dry tracks, the big fields at Flemington, and the great success that we had last year, I'm certainly really keen to get stuck into the form over the spring carnival and certainly bet up where we can. There's going to be races where it'll be, the database will tell me there's no need to go against other horses. Then there'll be other races where, we'll have a top raider and it'll be good value. We know that the top raiders, they're pretty much break even. So we could sort of, I guess, regard that as a free hit. That if we back these and they're good value, the worst we can do is break even, and then there's going to be opportunities there with horses that are obviously bigger prices down in the market. So we'll pick and choose our fight, but our battles, I should say. But certainly it's it's something that I'm looking forward to doing. I've got another question here from Perry. A very interesting and informative session. Really enjoyed the database. Yep. No worries. Thanks, Perry. What I'll do is I'll I'll have a word with the new fellow probably tomorrow and organise to lock in a night to have a bit of a Q&A with him on the webinar. And yeah, as I touched on at the start, it's probably not a lot different we can do that hasn't been done with some other services in the past, but it would obviously just give people that are interested the ability to ask some questions and learn a little bit more. So I haven't had any more questions come through, and it's been 5 minutes, so I'll just take that everyone is probably sick of hearing me talk or doesn't have any questions. But I'd just like to thank you all for listening. This has been recorded, so hopefully I don't stuff that up when I turn it off, and we'll have a recorded version that I'll put on YouTube. From my experience, these things take a long time to go on YouTube, but it should be there anyway. And yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free about any of our services. Feel free to send me an email, and there'll be a launch of some spring packages tomorrow for the spring packages. So basically, buy a couple of months and get one free, and we'll have the launch of the Black Bookers next week. But yeah, this was more of about what we do. So yeah, thanks very much. I'm mumbling on. All the best, and good punning through the spring. Thank you.